You're listening to episode 43 of Present Moment. Welcome to Present Moment, Mindfulness, Practice, and Science. I'm Ted Meissner. Present Moment is a podcast with interviews, conversations, and roundtable discussions. We speak with mindfulness teachers about their newest findings published in peer-reviewed science journals, teachers about their understanding and methods as they work with students of mindfulness, authors about their books and interests, and we also speak with everyday practitioners. The website presentmomentmindfulness.com has show notes for each episode along with resource materials. Betsy Thomson joins us to speak about her new book, Meditation, My Friend, Meditation for Kids and Beginners of All Ages. There are a lot of books about mindfulness available on the market today, but most are focused on an adult audience. There are some notable and wonderful exceptions, like the Mind Up series from Vahan Foundation, but we're still in the early stages of finding books geared to younger children to introduce them to meditation. Today's author, and her dear friend Mitchell, have recently collaborated on a new book to do just that. Betsy Thomson is an author, singer-songwriter, multimedia artist, and an experienced meditator and meditation yoga instructor. She is the creator of Mitchell Hofstetter. Our guest today is Betsy Thomson. Betsy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
So glad to have you here, and we're here to talk about your book, Meditation, My Friend, Meditation for Kids and Beginners of All Ages. But before we go into that, I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I like to call myself these days, I'm not big on labels, but, sometimes I, do get asked to describe what I do professionally. And I like to say what I do in general. And I'm definitely an artist, art-minded person. I'm a composer, singer-songwriter, and right after 9/11 as a stress therapist working with the FDNY. I worked real intensely with women and men in the department, also NYPD responders as a stress therapist. I started out, I think it was like about 9 months volunteering, and then, I was picked up by Project Liberty to keep me on and in firehouses and down at Ground Zero. And at the same time, I always incorporate my art into my life experience. I can't say that I just bang stuff out. It's always got a lot of thought behind it, usually to convey a message, to somehow get important points across, to make people feel better. So that's it. Both of those are pretty constant in my life. And the book was just another, I say project, but it was also, I did it to help people, but it was also, it was a great teaching tool for me as well. So those are, basically the kind of things that I do, but usually everything I do is in the creative arena, so to speak, or to work and help with people, to help them better their lives or themselves.
Great. And what made you decide to write this book?
Well, I know you've seen it. In the book, there's actually a character. He's a little character. I shouldn't say little. He's grown now. He's the size. Maybe a tall 8-year-old. Mitchie Hofstetter. And he's a character I created back in 1979. And funny enough, he started out about 5 inches, and he was a sizable hand puppet. Now he's close to an 8-year-old size. But, for a long time, I've been doing voiceover work with him, paintings, cartoons, and I, for the longest time, I had been trying to do a book. And, it's funny, the projects would start and they would feel dead-ended. And I know enough now when I work on a project, it's kind of that Zen thing. You feel a flow. That's not saying everything is easy to do. It just develops overnight. But in one day, I had this idea. I want to do a book on meditation. And it was right about that time, too, who also is featured in the book is now a friend of mine, Dr. Tenzin Taye, who is a Tibetan monk. And boy, I grabbed that chance because he was here. He was in New York living while I was still living in New York. And I asked him if he'd be willing to shoot some photos. And I think he didn't quite understand what we were doing because his English wasn't so good. And it was funny, but he was so cool, so much fun. And once he met Mitchell, he kind of ran the show. It was really fun. It was hilariously funny. I mean, I just shot photos. And he would pose Mitch. He would take Mitch around and talk to him. And we had a blast. And so from the photos, I kind of strung the story together. I kind of worked backwards. I didn't write the story first. I used and worked as a kind of like a blueprint, the photos. And then the story developed out of it. And then, it was amazing. I mean, I found a wonderful graphic designer who fell in love with Mitchell, the character, and the whole project. And she worked on it with me, and it took about 5 years. So it was quite a big, and life happened in between for both of us working on it. So there was a couple things that inspired it, and I just felt, because meditation is a big part of my life, and Mitchie wants to be a meditation ambassador, and I said, go for it, Mitch, because the uniqueness about this book is it's written in his voice, this puppet, this character. It's not me. I'm just like the helper girl, if that makes sense, Yeah, so I helped, but it's really written through his perspective, his voice, kind of like a kid that starts to realize that he's got a lot of monkey thoughts, bouncing thoughts in his head, and he discovers meditation. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it answers it very well. So tell us about the book itself, what's in there. You have several chapters, and it is told from Mitch's perspective, but what's the storyline? How does Mitchell encounter meditation?
Well, to start off, you have to understand Mitchie's history. He's left on a step. He doesn't know where he's come from. And, he's basically left in a basket on a step and discovered by me, who appears in the book. Because of that, he's got quite a few, I guess you could say insecurities about feeling, with abandonment issues. He's tinier than the rest of the kids. He's got weird pointy ears, which the kids don't have. And basically he convinces himself he's an oddball. He doesn't fit in. No one likes him. Those kind of thoughts that, quite a few of us have experienced maybe. And, so the storyline is he determines and he declares and he self-diagnoses himself as having a severe incurable case of restless brain syndrome. And basically that's where you can't stop thoughts, any thoughts. It doesn't matter what he's convinced, any thought, you just can't stop them. And then he begins to realize, and the worst thoughts of all are his monster thoughts, things like I'm dumb, I'm stupid, no one likes me, I stink, I'm short, and he's got very, very few buddy thoughts. So taking this all into consideration, he feels the best thing to do is to run away to the park and hang out with squirrels, because he knows his only real true friend is Liam the squirrel. And then basically what happens is he runs to the park and he happens to bump into Betsy's friend, who is his guardian, who he lives with, Tenzin the monk. And they sit and talk. Tenzin explains to him, that, hey, everybody has restless brain syndrome from time to time, even him. And he explains to him about mindfulness, learning to keep the mind in the present moment, learn to be less reactive to thoughts. And then he actually teaches Mitch how to sit and meditate by doing basic breath meditation. And then in the book, Mitchell learns from Tenzin also to do loving kindness meditation, metta, which I'm a big advocate of. And I think if anything, anybody can learn from this book, because I was actually thinking of this today. Why is meditation so important to me? And, and I teach kids, and I tell you why it's so important for me to get this out and teach children is at least to help them to understand how to be kinder to themselves, if anything, to be kind to yourself, how to be nice, how to really understand how to love yourself and treat yourself well. And I really believe, meditation's a tool that can help kids learn this. So basically, that's what's in the book. I will say it's pretty funny. It's humorous. So big kids like it, like adults, I'm finding. And I did write it for adults too, because it's more of a fun approach to it. And it comes with guided instructions and also a free audio portion that has songs, guided meditations, and a kind of a mini Dharma talk between Mitch and I, talking about Dharma, what it means to be mindful, and how, mindfulness meditation can help us feel better about ourselves and the way we function in life.
So, Betsy, what did you like best about putting the book together? It took you some time to do. And what were some of the good, fun stories that came out of that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the fun, when I turn around and look at it, the fact that I worked with Tenzin, he's pretty remarkable. He's actually he's a very well-respected Tibetan medicine doctor, herbalist in Dharamsala. He's so, I was so blown away. He's so brilliant. He speaks many languages. He actually makes herbs. Just to work with somebody like that. And there was a language barrier, but to be in his presence. And then, what was fun a lot too, when I'd be out shooting photographs, it was so neat to have, people come up and talk about it, what the project was, or getting kids to help, because they're, I have children in the book, getting their help. And then also what was fun for me, because I love the creative process. Once you get to the end point, it's like, okay, I'm done. But the process is amazing to me, because I guess it was like putting a puzzle together. You think you're going in one direction, and then it's like, no, we're going to go a little this way now, because of it was great collaborating with people. And one thing I learned, because it did take 5 years almost beginning to start. And in that time, my mother passed away. My designer's father passed away. We had gaps where we just couldn't work. And it was really interesting when I'd go back to writing and editing and working, it'd be like, oh yeah, this is okay, because this is the practice, This is the practice. You don't get stressed, even though I didn't, and what I learned is, what I had written maybe the first year, the first two, it didn't work. It was only till I experienced, say, my mother passing away, moving out of New York, which was huge. My designer, things happening to her feedback, it couldn't have developed till we got to that point 3 years later. Do you know what I mean? What we had, it had to progress. I guess it had to progress the way it went. It wouldn't have been ready a year or two earlier. It was perfect the way, I don't like to toss that word around, just perfect, but the final product was just right. It was cooked just right by the time it was all done, because of my life experience I could go back, rewrite something because of something I experienced, or say something my designer Chris experienced. So it worked out, even though part of me said, oh, I want it to be done a year ago. It had to go the pace it went, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you also put together a YouTube video, which I'll be embedding on the episode page for this episode. I was wondering if you'd talk just for a couple minutes about that and what made you decide to put that together and what it is.
Well, yeah, I know, now the tricky part for me here is, and I guess, have to be a marketeer. And so all the people I've dealt with in publishing, they're like, you got to be on Twitter, good thing, because I wouldn't have met you, right? And you got to market, you got to do this. And I'm like, no, I'm getting so stressed. But, I love making film. I love editing. And I thought, I want to make something fun to put out there because you know what? A lot of people I deal with don't know meditation. They've heard of it. They've never tried it. And believe it or not, some people are a little apprehensive, and so I wanted to put something together that could quickly give the gist of the book that was fun, kind of snappy, upbeat, that could get the point of the book across quick enough. And, just to get that out there. And also, especially for if a kid sees it, they could say, wow, this is kind of funny, cute, and cool. I like this, to raise their interest as well as their parents. So that's why I did it, just to get the message of the book out there a little bit more, too.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about that, about some of the hopes for the outcome for children and the parents. You mentioned some things that you want to introduce the practice of mindfulness to them, but what are some longer term changes you're hoping for that may come out of this?
You mean just doing this book? Or
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't joking when I said I'd love to see this character become like an ambassador for kids' mindfulness, because there's some really good kids stuff out there, video games, films, but, there's also some stuff that's not. And, now from teaching, and I'll tell you, kids are brilliant. I adore them because when I teach kids, it's so funny how it becomes, and I don't provoke it. I teach and the kids, it just seems like it becomes their mini therapy sessions. They love, it seems, talking about themselves, their concerns. And I take that in and I also get their feedback of how much better they feel when they sit and meditate. And I guess through this book, putting it out there, I would just like to see somehow that it helps contribute in making meditation as acceptable and normal and an everyday practice, just like say, hey, you get up, you brush your teeth, you get up, you meditate, we sit, we meditate, and I would like to see, I'd like to see this book help do that. And also the character, because I know the feedback I get with the book and the character, people like him a lot. And I just think it would be really cool if kids had like their own little spokesperson that was saying, hey, yeah, meditation's cool, or, all the good stuff that's out there for kids, than some of the stuff that isn't the best for them to be seeing. And, and it's funny, a friend of mine saw it and he said, you need to do a music video. And I'm like, yes, please. My real fantasy is I would love to do an animated piece, like a springboard with the character Mitchell and stuff based on this book. I just think it would be cool. And also a music video because, the song comes along with the book. And I just think it would be really kind of neat for kids. And then to have it be, to go out into schools and different organizations, to make the whole concept of mindfulness and doing mindful meditation much more public friendly,
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And our guest today, Betsy Thomson. You can find out more about Betsy and Mitchell at meditationmyfriend.com. Betsy, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ted. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more about something you've heard in today's podcast, please come visit the website at presentmomentmindfulness.com. You'll find an entire webpage devoted to this and every episode. You can comment on the episode page and find show notes and other helpful resources for your mindfulness practice. The shakuhachi music heard on Present Moment is used by permission and through the generosity of musician Rodrigo Rodriguez. His website is linked on the Present Moment website on the About Podcast Music page. Sound editing, mixing, and mastering provided by the generosity of Anthony Dominello of StructureFromSound.com. Until next time, remember, every moment you have a choice. Make it the best you can. See you next time on Present Moment.